Hi everyone. So this is a tutorial on using Unicar and bringing in your own 3D models and setting them up within the system so that they're fully drivable with physics. You could use this for racing games, parking simulation games, and anything basically with wheeled vehicles like that. So when you bring in the Unity package, you'll see a folder called Unicar here, and it basically contains everything in a really neat hierarchy, basically to save the sanity of developers. So the first folder in here of importance that we want to look at will be the scenes folder, and we'll open up this demo scene. We have a couple of quadrants in this scene which represent asphalt for the gray, dirt over here for the sand, blue for water, and green. And it's just to show that the vehicle will spit up some different particle effects and behave a little differently over different surfaces. We do accomplish that, if I can get past the canvas here, basically by using tags, asphalt tag, dirt tag, water tag, grass, and even fire and stuff like that. So any collider that will have this tag on it will spit up the appropriate particle effect for water, grass, or sand. So you can have very specific zones that spawn different particle effects. I'm just going to hit play like you would be able to, and just right out of the box we'll start playing with one of the most fun vehicles in the package, which is the monster truck. It has very unique handling and the ability to drive over all kinds of crazy types of terrain, like these crazy logs, and then multiple jumps like this. It'd be kind of cool for a monster truck game. Oh, and then you'll see we're spitting up different particle effects here over the dirt. And if I can get myself lined up, we'll go over the water, and you can see that we get a different water spray effect over the water. And then if we go over the grass, it'll do the same thing. And you can fully customize these grass, water, dirt, and asphalt particle effects to be any prefab you like, but these are just the ones I kind of included out of the box. Okay, so that's how it works, and it is playable just right as soon as you open up the scene. So we want to implement in our own vehicle. So here at World Origin we have our monster truck, and we have our monster truck camera. We're going to bring in a different vehicle. You can start in your own scene. Some of the things you'll want in your own scene though will be, you don't need the demo stuff. That just pops up this Unity Canvas UI for switching between scenes for the demo. This is just the actual 3D geometry for the level. This is automatically put in the scene by Unity when you bring in a canvas, which is what the demo UI is. And then we also have mobile UI, which are the buttons for mobile control, and you'll want to enable those when you're making a mobile build and you want to play it on mobile. And then the skid marks object, which does reside in the prefabs folder here, right there. And you want to drag that into any empty scene you have, because it'll be looking for that to draw the skid marks for the vehicle. Starting with this demo scene though here, we have basically all of these elements already in the scene, and all you'd have to do is basically replace the 3D geometry for your world. So I'm going to bring in my own 3D model of a car, which is pretty much what you would do, and you can bring in an FBX or whatever your method is. But I'm going to bring mine in as a Unity package. I'll bring in the cube map, the materials, the models, the shader, and the textures. This is a low poly mobile police car that I made. It's pretty cool, so we'll use it. And there it is, and I'll just drag all three parts of it. Normally your cars wouldn't have three parts, but this one just happens to have some flashing lights that we don't need, and then some cool decals, which you don't technically need either, but they make the car look cool, so we'll keep them. Okay, so we have our own 3D model in the scene. The type of vehicle I have is about like a sedan or a mid-sized vehicle. So what we're going to do is go into the Unicar Prefabs Vehicles folder and grab the medium vehicle, because it more represents closer to the type of car that we're putting in. And then we'll also want to grab the medium vehicle camera. Now if we just hit play, this is pretty cool, it's just drag and drop. The Mustang or medium vehicle will work. And it also jumps and has its own unique handling in physics. It's pretty cool. They just all work right out of the box. There we go. And it has a little tougher time since it's actually a regular sedan vehicle. So now I want to create my own unique prefab out of this vehicle. So what I'm going to do is game object, break prefab instance. And so now any of the changes we make to it won't overwrite this original really nice base that we have for prefab. And we'll name it, I'm going to make a police car. So we'll name it that, and we'll create a new prefab out of it by just dragging it into your project window. And you can put it wherever you want. I'm just going to put it right there. So now we have a unique new prefab. The next thing I'm going to do is just remove the 3D model, which is this. It's the wheels and the chassis and all that. I'm going to remove it. It's going to say it wants to break the prefab instance. That's fine. We can hit apply again. And we have everything we need for the Unicar physics, but we just don't have our 3D model. So I'm going to go back. You're going to want to grab your 3D model and drag it right into the hierarchy for our physics car here. And there we have it. Now obviously you see where the tweaking happens. That takes a couple of minutes to fix. The colliders just don't match in size. So the first thing we'll do is the chassis collision here. It's a separate object. It's always a good idea to keep your objects nice and separated. So there it is. We're going to go into the orthographic views here from the side, and we'll just tweak the scale to kind of closely, and I'm going to go between the front and the side views and just kind of match it up. Now remember, it doesn't need to be perfect by any means. This is like horseshoes or hand grenades. It's like close enough is good. In fact, you definitely probably want a little bit of buffer on your collision between the collision and the art. That way when other cars that are traveling at really high speed ram into the side or the back of your car, the artwork of their car, the 3D model, doesn't interpenetrate or go into the 3D model of your car, because the physics sometimes take a little bit of time to catch up and register collisions. So you can actually just feel free to kind of expand it out just a little bit. Just don't go ridiculously too far out where it looks like the other AI or other cars are bouncing off of an invisible barrier. But go out a little bit, because the collision coming in at high speed will sink into the other collision a little bit. And then of course you don't even need the little top one unless you're going for a little bit of extra detail, or in our case on the Need for Speed games, if the car rolled over on its roof or something like that, you had a little bit of collision up there to allow the car to lay on its roof, but it's not absolutely pivotal to have this top one. So we've got the body collision of the car. Looks like it's lined up and matching pretty good for this car. This kind of collision with these primitive cubes too is really great, because it's uber fast on PC and web platforms, and it's also extremely optimized and uber fast on mobile. So it works between both really good. The built-in primitive collision it's definitely the way you want to go. It's the most optimized type of collision. The next thing we need to set are the wheel colliders. They do not match the visuals of our art wheels. So I'm going to go back into these orthographic views, and this time it helps to go into your scene tab here and go into wireframe mode. And what we need to do here is just sort of line these up. Get that orange center line of the Unity 5 wheel collider lined up. Again, it's not hand grenades or horseshoes, just close enough. It doesn't have to be perfect. It can't be really wildly off, or the wheels will be wildly off, but as long as it's just pretty darn precise and close. And so we'll select all of them and just make sure that that center green horizontal line is lined up to the center of the wheel. That's the center of the wheel collider. And with all of them selected as well, we see that the radius attribute here actually needs to go down too. So 0.33 seems to work for my purposes. That's pretty well lined up and centered on the wheel. So let's see how it looks from the front. And it doesn't look that good. So the right front, right rear, we can move them at the same time with shift selected. Let's say 7.2 looks good. And then this side we'll do negative 7.2. Move it over just a little bit. There we go, 7.3 on this side. That's another reason why it's really important that your vehicles and wheels and everything are completely centered so that the mirroring is good. So now the wheel colliders are definitely lining up. If I select the root prefab, we'll go back into shaded mode. We'll see that everything lines up pretty nicely. So the last thing we have to do here is we'll keep our wheel colliders expanded is find the art wheels for our vehicle. Now one of the really important things about the art wheel here is that the pivot is exactly centered on the wheel and centered this way so that the wheel rotates nicely like this and is not wobbly or angled out. So make sure your pivots on your wheels are centered and that the wheels are separated from the chassis mesh of the car. We don't want the wheels and the car combined. It won't work right. So shift select all of your art visual wheels and click add component and just start typing in wheel and look for wheel alignment. This is the thing that tells all of the art wheels to align to the physics wheels. So that's why it has an attribute corresponding collider. We're not going to apply that right now because we're going to make a change on all 4 wheels at once, which is assigning the particle effects that will spit off of the wheels that you saw happening earlier when I drove over grass. It was grass, over sand, it was sand. And that's in the visual effects folder. So the first one we need is the grass. The next one we'll need is dirt. The next one we'll need is asphalt. And the next one we'll need is water. So now all of these wheels are fully capable of spawning particle effects and cool stuff depending on all these 4 different surface types. Okay, so now individually we'll need to tell the left front wheel that the corresponding collider is the left front wheel collider. It's very important that you keep this naming convention in your 3D modeling app for your wheels consistent and that you know what it represents. The left front wheel is LF, left front wheel, left rear wheel, and stuff like that. So you'll see that it becomes really important when you want to go in here and start assigning these physics wheels to right rear, right front, left rear, left front. That's my convention. You can do it FL underscore wheel for front left, or whatever, just so you know that those wheels are in that specific position on the vehicle. So right now, I'm going to leave center mass and the camera target where it is. The car should be set up and ready to go. If I hit play now, our new car is drivable. And it jumps like the monster truck. And it stays stable in the air. Pretty cool, right? And it's properly spitting the proper particle effects out, the visual effects for asphalt, sand, and grass. There's our sand. So some of the next things you'll want to do is to tweak it. The body rolls a little too much on this. I don't like how much the car rolls. Like if I were to look at the car now, I bet the wheels are sinking into the body a little bit, maybe. Slightly. It's just a little too intense. And the other thing I overlooked was look at the size of those skid marks. That is because the skid marks object that's in the scene, and it's right here, you would drag it into the scene like that in your scene, has a bunch of presets for the type of vehicle that we have. And it was set to monster truck because the monster truck vehicle is in the scene. So if we just set it to medium vehicle and we go back and we skid out now, we'll see that our skid marks are, I'll pause it, they're the proper width for the tires now. And that's totally tweakable. Those presets on the skid marks object here, you can set their intensity so you can make them darker or lighter. If you have like all grass and you want them to come up lighter, you can have the maximum amount. And then this is the width. So for the light vehicle, I said 2.75 was pretty good. For the medium, 0.35. You can totally adjust those values, and that's how wide it would be for that type of vehicle. Okay, and that's where you set it in here. I just overlooked that one aspect. So as for the vehicle handling, if we go back, and I'm going to move this window out of the way here, and we look, I grouped everything into what I thought made sense for for the car's setup. I even made little tool tips so you can see exactly what each one of these will do. This is the input sensitivity for the sharpness of the steering, so how sharp it'll steer. So the suspension spring, we raise this value to tighten the suspension. It feels pretty loose, so I'm going to kick it up to like 65,000, and we'll hit play now. And the car's doing less of that body rolling all over the place. And it also drifts a lot better too. So you play with those suspension values, and look at that, we can drift for quite a while. So if you're making some kind of drifting game, you can get a lot of cool functionality out of that. Suspension damping, raise this value to quicken the suspension. So I'm going to tighten the suspension up just a little bit more, and we'll get even more tighter suspension. So you'll see the car doesn't body roll as much. The other thing you can do is the ride height of the vehicle. We can go something subtle and just raise the ride height just a little bit. I'll do something dramatic to show you what this really does. So if you have different vehicles like that have the wheels far off, like see how it's riding up now like a pimp mobile? And it'll definitely handle quite a bit different with those really tall wheels. So if you have a bigger wheel on your vehicle too, it might be smart to increase that for that as well. I just found for these sedan vehicles this value feels pretty good. And so you have all kinds of other attributes on here that you can tweak and adjust for the grip of the front wheels and rear wheels if you want it to drift a little more. Do the side grip for the rear wheel. The downforce is as the vehicle speeds up, the spoiler helps push down on the car a little bit and makes it more stable. This is a measurement of the actual car's speed, so if I drive, you'll see, hey, we're going about 45, 50, 60, that fast. And you can also drag and drop a UI text object in here, anywhere you want in your GUI. In here with the Unity canvas, just drag it in and you get a mile/hour text readout, and it's rounded too, so it won't have all those crazy decimal points. It'll just say 43, 44, 45. Also, if you want to adjust the camera target, I'll hit play, and you can move the camera target around. If you want the camera to swivel and follow around underneath the hood of the car or something like that. So if you see where I moved it now, the car can like swivels the rear end around a lot more, and that's just the car's not doing it, but the camera's just swiveling around it quite a bit different. We can also move it to the rear bumper. The car will follow quite a bit further away, and it'll swivel from the rear of the car. It's all about like what you want for your feel. You can also go to the medium camera prefab, and usually what I'll do is I'll hit play, and then I'll get something I like. That feels pretty good. It shows a lot more detail of the vehicle. And while I'm still in play mode, if I like this value and I don't want to lose it, I can just go copy component on the vehicle camera follow. I lost the value, but if I paste component values, see how it's set to 5.9, it's put in my proper new values that I liked. The last thing that I think might be kind of important to you is if you want this to work on mobile. It works on PC and all that right out of the box. So just this simple checkbox. Mobile input, enable it. Boom. The other thing you need to do is just turn on mobile GUI. If mobile GUI is not in the scene, go in the Unity car prefabs under GUI and drag mobile GUI in. There it is. The mobile GUI, any of these different buttons here could be a gas pedal and a brake pedal. It doesn't have to be these kind of sprites that I created. That was just the kind of sprite that I set up for temporary. Now my keyboard's not working at all, but the UI buttons are working. See? Well, you can see the wheel moving as I press them. There we go. And I have a video where I demo the Android build. So, works really well, works good on mobile, and I think that's pretty much everything you need to set up your own vehicle. I'm going to put these instructions really in a 12-step concise written document as well for you just to kind of look at and reference rather than watching a 20-minute long video. You can just look at the steps in text, with your own scene open and just follow those. I hope you enjoy Unicar, and thank you for watching.